Do you ever get treated differently because of your condition, like once people find out, and do you ever get kind of like annoyed because of it, like don't like belittle me kind of thing?
The people who load my wheelchair on to the plane have the mental capacity of a 2-year-old, so they like don't know what they're doing at all.
They don't know what?
How many have you broken? How many have they broken?
What does it feel like if someone tugs on the cord that's like inside of your body?
Ooh,
This is not a long-term solution.
it's not.
And so
I'm gonna go.
I just want to honor that when,
Yeah.
I mean, both of you
Yeah.
are talking in very offhanded, casual ways, which is also part of your life.
If you're asking, am I allowed to get face? Like, yeah.
You are. That's not what I was asking.
You plug a phone and you also plug me in at night, literally. Like, I'm not even kidding, literally.
Just to add on to that,
Like, since this isn't long term, and not to bring it up, but like the
Okay.
whole mortality conversation. If you get that heart transplant, is the situation solved or is it ongoing?
No, so the short answer is no. The long answer is
Do you ever get treated differently because of your condition, like once people find out, and do you ever get kind of like annoyed because of it, like don't like belittle me kind of thing?
it's not really sort of a belittling thing at all, but it's more like I people figure out about my condition, I tell them, right? And then they kind of are like, oh, they're more soft to me. I don't know how to describe it. The more acting like I'm more fragile than I already am, right? You know, and that can be a little bit annoying, but usually that kind of stops. And that's usually with people that I meet and then I might never meet again, like someone on campus, like for example, who I probably never will talk to again, right?
But once you're friends with somebody or close to them, you're going to be annoying just like anybody else, and they're not going to treat you with soft gloves.
Right, that's right, yeah. And the friends I already had beforehand, that was a way different thing. My friends I had before I got sick, and then they kind of saw what happened to me. They kind of were on that journey second-handedly as well, you know, but that's kind of like a different thing. But that's the only thing that really annoyed me.
There's definitely times where, you know, people see me and they, you know, feel bad for me to belittle me, which has its pros and cons. Like pros being, a couple years ago, me and my dad were going to a Princeton hockey game, and I had like broke my foot somehow because I think he like dropped me and landed on it or something. And so I was in the back, and we were driving, and he was flying. He was going like 30 over, and we got pulled over, and the officer comes to the front door, and my dad's like, "I'm so sorry, officer. I have a son in the back in a wheelchair. I'm just trying to help him out. You know, just look at him. He's in the wheelchair right there." And I took my eyes off the road. I had to fix his foot. And I was like, "Oh, okay, you're good. Just a warning."
Yeah.
So like that
Worked in
helps.
your favor.
But you know, the cons are being like, you know, I'll be at like a restaurant, and like I'll be ready to order my food, and when I go to order, they'll look at like my parents for them to order for me, and it's like, all right, like I'm not that stupid, you know, like
Like they think that there's a cognitive
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah.
not just a physical problem.
exactly.
Something that you see that you wouldn't, that probably a lot of these people here, or including me, don't see. Is there anything that you?
Curbs. Yeah, you just kind of like growing up in a wheelchair. You just have to really watch out for where you're going. Because when I was little and still learning how to drive a wheelchair, there were definitely a couple cases where I wasn't looking, and I just kind of sent it right off the curb. But you know, you learn off of that.
Wait, have you always been in a wheelchair though?
Yeah,
Okay, so you don't know life without a wheelchair.
I mean, like I got my first wheelchair when I was 5, but so I don't remember much of it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the bag for?
So basically, what I say about my heart pump, obviously this is not my heart pump. The pump's in my heart, obviously, right? But this pack
That's
that
not obvious, by the way. That's not obvious.
It's not. No, it's not. I mean, right? Yeah. Definitely not right. But it's this pack that I carry is like batteries that power the device, right? There's actually a white cord. I don't know if you see this down here. I don't know if you can see it, but that white cord goes into my body, under where my finger is right now. Like it goes in and literally powers it, right? And I also, on top of that, no one will be able to see this, but I have a little controller here as well that I can check, like things about the device right now. I could see how much blood is flowing in my heart, or a few other things I can see as well. So yeah, that's basically what it is.
Because I wanted to ask, like, have you went to places where they're like, oh, we can't bring the bag along or somewhere?
So this bag has to stay with me all the time. I have literally not been anywhere without this bag on my shoulders since it's February 28th.
Has anyone ever said, oh, you can't bring your bag in?
Well, there have been security things I've gone through, but I have to tell them this bag has to stay on me because it literally can't leave. Like it physically cannot leave. The cord goes into my body. The cord is basically is attached to the batteries, right? So it's literally, it's not. There have been people that have said, right, like when I go through security or something, right, can you remove that bag, please? But then I explain to them and show them that this is actually a medical device, and then they obviously have to let me. They literally have to by law.
So Matt, how about you? And with Aaliyah's question, have you run into any obstacles with people getting in? Yeah, just.
I don't think there's really been any cases where they're like, you're not allowed to bring your wheelchair into somewhere. But like when I go to take a plane somewhere, the people who load my wheelchair on to the plane have the mental capacity of a 2-year-old. Yeah. So they don't know what they're doing at all.
They don't know what?
How many have you broken? How many have they broken?
2 have been damaged pretty bad.
When we came back from Florida on the one trip, one of the wheelchairs we had with us was an electric chair like yours, was absolutely destroyed. And another one was damaged. Same thing. Yeah. Dude, by the way, airline workers out there, can you just pay attention? Pay attention. No.
Everybody has a hard job, right?
Yeah, everyone has a hard job.
Okay.
I guess not to bring bad feelings up, but do you, I guess in relation to dating or even just in general, do you ever have resentment or anger, insecurity because of your disability?
I mean, being in a wheelchair isn't the biggest chick magnet. So on that end, not super successful. But there's really no bad feelings behind it necessarily, no.
But wait.
Yeah. Can you say more? What do you mean bad feelings?
How did you get there?
What do you mean?
How'd you get to no bad feelings? Because I
I don't just sit in my room all day and be busy that I can't pull. I've just accepted that fate right now.
Do you have hope you'll pull?
Yeah, maybe eventually. Yeah, we'll see.
But can I add just something that you were sharing about the nursing care that you have, right? Is just 24/7.
Yeah.
So when someone is in a relationship with you, they're also going to be in a relationship with other people as well, right? Or how does that? Just to being a little more practical about how that works.
What do you mean in relationship?
Meaning, if you a girlfriend or boyfriend and you were with them, they'd also have to be. Your nurses are pretty close by, right?
Yeah, but there hasn't been any scenarios so far where I'm bringing a chick home from frat row or something like that. So, we haven't encountered that problem yet, no.
So far, though. Let's
so
emphasize so far. Yeah, I have a lot of stories I could tell, my friend. I got a lot of stories I can tell.
When it comes to dating and certain kinds of relationships, there hasn't really been too much of a block between me doing that and then someone who doesn't have this device doing that, right? There hasn't really been that. I haven't really felt really divided.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't really felt separate from my peers who don't have these kind of things, right? But But there is kind of like that, a little bit of an internal emotional side to that, right? That kind of you feel maybe a little bit sometimes that maybe this condition that I got in January, right? Maybe it took away things that I would have had, right? Maybe I would have been here late September, and would have been a better person, would have been a more successful person than I would have been if I didn't get that. But that's a really negative way to think about it, because if I didn't get this device, I'd either be still in the hospital or worse off or just not here, period. Right? I mean that grimly, right? But it's kind of realistic.
No, it's,
so,
it's actually very realistic.
Yeah, right.
What does it feel like if someone tugs on the cord that's like inside of your body?
Oh, yeah. It is exactly what you would imagine, right? For real. This cord, like you can picture it. Picture how that would feel, right? Something tugging inside of your body. This goes around organs, right, in a certain pattern, so it doesn't disrupt anything. But in theory, if you took off, we call this a dressing, what goes over it, so that doesn't get infected. But if you took that dressing off and you really tugged at it, it's something I joke with my mom about, because she gets so grossed out when I tell her. But I'm used to that idea, right? I just don't do it. Right? Because it's so obvious, right? So it's exactly what you would imagine, and you're not the only person who's wondered that. Don't worry.
Before you ask your second question, just also when you say that about the dressing and the cord, I don't know what you call it. Mm-hmm. What do you call that white thing?
The cord?
White, is it cord?
That's called a drive line.
Line?
That's the medical term for the cord itself, right? So.
It also, when you described that you have a dressing, which is like an open wound, really. This is not a long-term solution.
It's not.
And so I just want to honor that when both of you are talking in very offhanded, casual ways, which is also part of your life. But it's also, that's just one of those moments where it's like, wow, this can't go on for a long time.
That's right. So just to finish off on when you ask about the dressing, it's literally, it would be it would be a technical open wound if you didn't have that dressing on, right? It's sterilized, and it's just made in a way that is to prevent you from getting infected, because you could actually develop a heart infection, because microorganisms could climb the cord, and the cord does go to the heart. So there's a high contingency for that. But
so you had a second?
Yeah, and then my second question is there anything that you guys that's so normalized that you can't do that you wish you could? I don't know, drinking a bunch of caffeine and pulling all-nighters and going to frat parties and stuff like that.
Dude, can I ask you, have you been to a frat party?
No, not yet, no.
Not yet?
Not yet. Soon.
Are you allowed to go, from just medically? Are you allowed to just roll into, in terms of your schedule and your health care and...
if you're asking, am I allowed to get face, yeah.
You are. That's not what I was asking.
Legally, no.
No, hang on, no.
Legally, no.
But there are a bunch of people up here, though, who are right now thinking, all right, we got to invite this guy. It's what's it like when you're faced?
No, that's not what I really was asking.
I'm not asking for you. I'm asking for them.
I actually looked it up a couple weeks ago. I can technically get a DUI.
How do you sleep with the bag on?
Actually, I don't. I don't sleep with this bag on. See, these, just like any battery, right? I'm attached to 2 batteries right now. Just like your phone's battery or whatever has to be charged, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I only wear this in the daytime when I'm not sleeping. But when I go to sleep, what I do is I literally unhook from the 2 batteries that are in this pouch, and I plug into a device that allows me to use the electricity from the wall. I'm literally plugged into the wall at night. Really? Literally. You plug a phone and you also plug me in at night. Literally. I'm not even kidding. Literal.
Just to add on to that, are you able to play sports or anything like that? Can you work out?
I can play sports, and I do actually. I work out every day. But I need to be careful when I do those things, though, because some of the medicine I take basically drains my fluid way quicker, right? I need to drink more water than the average person to stay hydrated, right? So when I exercise, not only do I need to drink more water in general, but I need to drink more water, obviously, when I'm exercising. So I can do those things. It's just more, I just need to be more careful, right?
Matthew, so like I'm sure like you went through a lot like growing up and like what you've been through, but when did it sort of hit you that you can be normal and sort of like just express yourself how you are?
I mean, it's kind of a difficult question. I would say in the last, let's say since like freshman, sophomore year of high school, it kind of hit me that some of my dreams are not possible. But I always kind of knew growing up that there was certain things I wouldn't be able to do. So, yeah.
So my mother has a nerve issue, so she has a battery pack that's actually was surgically implanted inside of her that runs an internal stim unit. So I was wondering if, in regard to like your condition, Gavin, if there was some sort of internal battery or some other sort of machine that would handle the situation in the same way.
Yeah, that's a great question. I went to the Children's Hospital Philadelphia, right, CHOP, that's how it's abbreviated. And this was the primary way that they would treat kids or young adults with the condition that I have. This is called an LVAD, by the way. Everyone knows. Everyone even cares. But and that's there are some other methods, some other like technological methods you could use to like reduce heart failure in this way. But this is the primary one because of how effective it is, right? Although I mentioned earlier about like mortality and stuff like that, these devices are actually less than 5 years, like these have been around for less than 5 years. So technically, when I say that, that's like when I said what I said earlier, that's going to be negative, right? Because we don't actually know how good these are yet. What we do know is that they have helped some kids not need a heart transplant, which is what most likely I'll need, but rather get an explant of this device, right? So to answer your question though directly, though, there are some other devices, particularly for babies. It's called a Berlin device, right, which is like similar to this, basically, but for babies.
Bro, so I'm thinking that if you were my age, if you were born the year I was born, you wouldn't be here, basically.
I would either not be here or I would also have one of these devices. Yeah, but I would just keep it for the rest of my life instead of getting a heart transplant.
Like, since this isn't long-term, and not to bring it up, but like the whole mortality conversation, if you get that heart transplant, is the situation solved or is it ongoing?
No. So the short answer is no. The long answer is anytime anybody can get any organ transplant, they will most likely need another replacement of that organ within 10 to 15 years after they get that transplanted, because either their bodies will outgrow that organ that they got, or that organ will outgrow their body, right? So in terms of heart, which obviously is all the organs are important, but the heart gives food, gives oxygen to everywhere in the body, right? So it's arguably more serious and a little bit more dire in that way, right? So it's like,
So that's I mean, you answered the question.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to be solved. And maybe, Allison, this goes back to what you said in the beginning, where you're like, I don't really have anything that I can relate to in terms of a disability myself. But I hope that as you're thinking about this, you also are thinking about the spectrum of disability, right? Because I think as a culture, maybe as a world, we've come to a place where we've started to say, wait a minute, there's these cognitive disabilities, learning disability, right? So there's a lot of conversation about what makes somebody outside the norm and what we need to do about that. So I just want to acknowledge that the two of you are reflecting for us one kind of experience, and there's a whole spectrum of experiences that I bet we could have a very different conversation if we kept talking, right? We talk a lot about objectification, and we don't usually talk about the opposite of that, which I think we should call subjectification, right? How do we make people into subjects, or how do we allow people to be subjects instead of objects? And so the intention of this conversation was to invite...
To subjectify.
Yeah, is to subjectify. So how can we do that with all kinds of others?
Dude, so applaud. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody.